Slide 1. Plate tectonics, Topic 11a, Part 3, a few more details. Slide 2. How do we know what the interior of the Earth is like? Like everyone else, scientists believe that the interior of the Earth is hot, because lava comes out of volcanoes. We cannot drill all the way through the lithosphere to reach the mantle. The lithosphere is about 60 miles thick, so we must use other methods to learn about the inside of the Earth. Every earthquake that occurs ripples outward, giving us clues about the Earth's interior. By measuring how long it takes each earthquake to reach each monitoring station of our worldwide network, scientists have built up a picture of the interior of the Earth. Earthquake waves travel at different speeds depending upon the kind of rock and the rock's temperature and pressure, something that can be measured in laboratory experiments. By combining travel times from many different earthquakes and earthquake speeds for different rocks under different conditions, scientists can work out the thickness of the layers of the Earth, their composition, temperature, pressure, and more. The same principles are used to visualize a baby in the womb using ultrasound waves. The Earth scientists figured out the technique first, so you can see your child in the womb thanks to earthquake research. The earthquake data suggests that the Earth's iron core has two parts, a solid inner core and a fluid outer core. The motion of the fluid part of the core is presumably responsible for the Earth's magnetic field, since iron is a magnetic substance. It makes sense that the core is iron, since iron is the densest substance made by stars in large quantities before they explode in a supernova. The early Earth formed from more and more asteroids being pulled together by gravity, and the collisions produced vast amounts of heat, making the early Earth a molten ball of rock. The higher density elements like iron tended to sink towards the center, while the lower density substances at the surface cooled and became solid by radiating their heat into space. The cool, outer layer then served as an insulator, trapping the heat inside except where it leaks out, mainly at places like volcanoes. High-density radioactive materials tended to sink towards the center, and their decay continues to warm the Earth's core to this day. The Earthquake Detection Network was built to monitor nuclear test ban treaties. Nuclear explosions set off vibrations that can be detected by the network, so the network is used to make sure that nations live up to their agreements. In other words, the network is used to detect nuclear cheaters. Nuclear explosions are different from natural earthquakes, so the network can easily tell them apart. Nuclear explosions create very small earthquakes, so the network has no difficulty detecting and measuring even small natural earthquakes. Slide 3. Why do the plates move? What drives plate tectonics? The ultimate cause of motion inside the Earth is the heat of the Earth's core. The Earth's core is warm, because of heat produced during the initial collisions between the rocky asteroids that came together to form Earth and the decay of dense, radioactive materials that sank down into the Earth's interior early in its history. The core heats the bottom of the mantle, lowering its density and causing it to rise. Cooler mantle material slides in to replace it, and the process repeats in giant, slow-motion convection cells. The mantle rock rubs against the bottom of the plates of the lithosphere, pushing them and thus making them move. There are other mechanisms that can cause plates to move. For example, the end of a subducting, diving, plate can be more dense than the mantle, because it has cooled down and contracted, and has thick, heavy layers of sediments piled on top of it. It dives down owing to its higher density, and can pull the rest of the plate with it. This is called slab pull. The diving plate also drags the nearby mantle rock with it, helping to push the convection cell in the mantle. This is called slab suction. Note, there is a debate within the geophysics community about whether convection cells reach all the way down to the core. Some scientists think that there are two layers within the mantle, each with its own convection cells. There is some data which support this view, but if this is true, then it is not clear why large deep earthquakes occur. This is, of course, how science works. If neither idea is consistent with all of the observations, then we need to gather more observations and modify our ideas based on what we learn. Plate speed and measuring plate motion. Countless studies over the last century have verified the motion and the boundaries of the plates suggested by plate tectonics. Scientists currently use the GPS, Global Positioning System, to monitor plate motion, but it is simple enough to do without advanced technology. Measure the distance between two objects, houses, trees, fences, and so on two different plates, and then do so again every once in a while, and after earthquakes. Most plates move at least a few centimeters per year, an inch or a bit more per year, and no faster than about 15 centimeters per year, about 6 inches per year. Slide 4. A single plate often contains both continental lithosphere and oceanic lithosphere. Notice that a plate can contain both continental and oceanic lithosphere. For example, the South American plate includes both South America, continental lithosphere, and the bottom of the Western Atlantic Ocean, oceanic lithosphere. Lava coming out of the mid-ocean ridge cools and solidifies onto whatever plate is next to it and becomes part of that plate, whether it is continental or oceanic lithosphere. Note that the continental lithosphere is next to the oceanic lithosphere, they are attached side to side. Both get pushed around together by the magma in the mantle below them. They get pushed in the same direction, because the magma flows in the same direction beneath both of them. Recall that one plate stops and another plate begins at the mid-ocean ridge, MOR, or a trench. In other words, the mid-ocean ridge and trenches are the edges of plates. We have looked at a situation in which oceanic lithosphere goes down beneath continental lithosphere, creating a trench. This is not a situation in which continental lithosphere and oceanic lithosphere are part of the same plate. Instead, a trench occurs when there is a collision between two different plates, one whose edge is made of oceanic lithosphere and one whose edge is made of continental lithosphere in this case. Slide 5. Earthquakes. Earthquakes occur when the Earth moves suddenly. The magma of the mantle flows in convection cells which steadily rub against the bottom of the plates, pushing them slowly away from mid-ocean ridges and towards trenches. However, the plates run into one another, so they resist being moved. Instead of moving, the plates are squeezed and twisted where they collide. Eventually, they cannot deform anymore. The pressure to resist builds up until it overcomes the resistance. Then, the plates move, slip, all at once, and snap back into their original shape, or as close as they can get to it. This is an earthquake. Most earthquakes occur near the edges of plates, because most of the resistance to motion is exerted at the edges, so this is where most of the deformation, bending, squeezing, takes place and the tension builds up the most. Plates can resist moving for several reasons. A plate can rub against the side or bottom of another plate, and the friction between them keeps them from moving. The rock in front of a moving plate, another plate or the semi-solid mantle, can block it, possibly forcing it to bend. In short, the plates move slowly and gently with the convection cells over time, slowly bending and twisting where they rub or bash into other plates. The plates give, deform, until they cannot give any more, and then suddenly move a lot all at once, snapping back into their original shape, an event we call an earthquake. There are other mechanisms that can cause earthquakes. For example, as a plate dives into the earth, some parts get warmer than others, so they get larger and the plate cracks where warm rock meets cold rock. This is why glass trays can break when you take them out of the oven or glass pitchers break when you pour hot water into them. One part cools more quickly than another part. Slide 6. Volcanoes near trenches. At trenches, a plate containing oceanic lithosphere subducts, dives down into the earth, and is destroyed by melting into and becoming part of the mantle. It is not only the diving plate that melts. The mantle rock above the subducting, diving, ocean crust undergoes what is called partial melting. The diving oceanic lithosphere is heated by the surrounding mantle, friction between the plate and mantle rock is an important factor, and the increased pressure. Water and sediments are also carried down by the plate. As the water and carbon dioxide, from the breakdown of calcium carbonate sediments, mix with mantle material, they lower its melting point and its density, allowing the resulting magma to rise upwards until it hits the non-subducting plate above. The magma begins melting the bottom of the plate and mixing with the plate's material, which alters the composition of the magma. Wherever a crack in the plate permits, the magma works its way towards the surface of the earth until it comes out as lava. The magma itself can force its way up in at least two ways. 1. The hot, rising magma melts the surrounding material. 2. The rising magma opens cracks by expanding. Remember, heating an object makes it larger, as does reducing the pressure on it. As the magma rises, there is less rock above it, pressing down and exerting pressure. So as the magma rises, the pressure on the magma reduces and the magma tries to expand. Expansion of the magma can crack the rock above it and allow the magma to rise further. Slide 7. Hotspots and volcanic islands. Long rows of volcanoes are found at the mid-ocean ridge and next to trenches. However, volcanoes are not only found at the mid-ocean ridge and next to trenches. Some volcanoes occur at a single location without any nearby or neighboring volcanoes. Molten rock rises at certain, special spots beneath the lithosphere called hotspots. The magma heats the bottom of the lithosphere. The lithosphere expands more in some places than others, which opens up cracks through which magma flows to the surface of the lithosphere. Lava breaks through again and again. The lava cools and hardens into solid rock. As more and more lava cools and hardens into rock, it slowly builds an underwater volcano. The volcano is a seamount, an underwater mountain, until it reaches the surface, at which point it becomes an island. The volcano grows on the lithosphere of a plate. Since plates move and the volcanic island is on the plate, the island is slowly carried off the hot spot by the motion of the plate. Slide 8. As the volcanic island is carried away from the hot spot by the plate it is on top of, the volcano becomes extinct, because it loses its source of lava, the hot spot. As time passes, the island, and the lithosphere it rides on, cool down more and more, causing them to contract, shrink. This makes the island smaller, so it sinks. In addition, as the lithosphere and volcano cool, they become more dense and therefore do not float as well on top of the mantle. They sink down a bit into the mantle, and this also causes the island to sink. The volcano cools more and more over time, so it sinks more and more the farther it gets from the hot spot. The island can sink so much that its top is carried beneath the waves, making it into a seamount. Slide 9. There is good evidence that this actually happens. Oceanographers find flat-top seamounts called table mounts or GEOs, GOHS. They were once islands at the surface and had their tops eroded away by waves before sinking deeper into the ocean. In other words, waves created a wave-cut terrace before the island completely sank below the surface of the ocean. Slide 10. The existence of coral atolls also supports the idea that some islands sink. Coral atolls are coral reef islands that are not close to land. However, coral reefs can only grow close to land, because corals live on the ocean floor and need to grow in shallow waters so that the algae living inside them can get sunlight. The algae living inside the corals use the sunlight for photosynthesis, and give some of the food that they make to the corals. Corals add layers of calcium carbonate below them to get closer to the sun so that their algae can make more food for them. This is how corals build a reef, by adding a little bit of calcium carbonate below them each year. We find coral atolls on top of seamounts whose tops are so deep that corals would not get enough sunlight to survive. We think that the original coral reef grew close to land, and as the island sank, the corals grew upwards to stay close to the sun by adding layers of white calcium carbonate beneath them. Slide 11. Hotspot island seamount chains. A volcano leaves the hot spot that it grew above, because the volcano is on top of a plate and the plate moves. When its plate moves, the volcano moves with the plate that it is riding on. After one volcano leaves the hot spot, another volcano grows on the hot spot due to the magma rising at the hot spot. This volcano also leaves as the plate continues to move, and another volcano grows due to the magma rising upwards beneath the plate at the hot spot. This happens again and again, creating an island seamount chain, a long line of islands and seamounts. Sometimes there is more lava coming up or the volcano spends a longer time at the hot spot, and an island is created. Sometimes not enough lava comes up or the volcano spends too brief a time at the hot spot, and a seamount is created. Sometimes an island cools so much after it leaves the hot spot that it sinks below the surface of the ocean and becomes a seamount. Sometimes an island has enough rock to remain above the surface even after it leaves the hot spot and shrinks. Slide 12. The classic example of an island seamount chain is the Hawaiian Islands, which are one end of the much larger Hawaiian Emperor seamount chain. Currently the southeast corner of the Big Island is above a hot spot. This is where you can see active volcanoes at Hawaiian Volcanoes National Park. The Big Island of Hawaii is actually two smaller islands linked together by the lava that flowed from the volcanoes. Notice how the Hawaiian Islands extend northwest, away from the hot spot and thus away from the mid-ocean ridge in the Pacific Ocean, and towards the trenches along the edge of the Pacific Ocean. Notice that the active volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii is located in the southeast corner of the island. It appears that the Big Island is nearly off the hot spot. Scientists exploring the ocean floor southeast of the Big Island have found a new volcanic seamount growing on the ocean floor. If it keeps growing at the observed rate, it will reach the surface and become an island in 15,000 or 20,000 years or so. There are other examples of hotspot island seamount chains. For example, the New England seamounts along the Great Meteor Hotspot Tract near the east coast of the United States also formed in this manner. Slide 13. Hotspot island seamount chains as evidence of seafloor spreading. Seafloor spreading is the idea that the ocean floor is moving away from the mid-ocean ridge. The motion of the sea floor is necessary to produce a chain of islands and seamounts, because it is the plate carrying volcanoes off the hotspot that allows new volcanoes to grow at the hotspot. If the sea floor did not move, then we would find one volcanic island or seamount at a hotspot. There would not be a chain of extinct volcanic islands and seamounts if the ocean floor did not move. It is not enough for there to be an island chain, the island chain must be pointing in the correct direction. According to the theory of plate tectonics, the ocean floor is moving away from the mid-ocean ridge. Thus an island chain must extend away from the hotspot and mid-ocean ridge, as the Hawaiian Islands do, to be consistent with and thus support the idea of seafloor spreading. In addition, coral atolls in hotspot island seamount chains are found in places where the water is too cold for corals to grow well. Corals do not grow well in cold water, because their reefs are made of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate dissolves in cold water. Nonetheless, some coral reefs are found in cold water, because they live on volcanic islands which grew on top of plates that have slowly moved from the tropics towards the poles. Thus, the islands move when the sea floor they are on moves from the tropics to the poles. Slide 14. Hotspot locations. Hotspots can exist anywhere on the Earth. They are not only occurring on the ocean floor. Thus, hotspots can be located under a continent. The geysers of Yellowstone National Park are caused by the heat of a hotspot. Hotspots beneath continents can cause volcanoes in addition to geysers. Hotspots can exist near the mid-ocean ridge and cause even more volcanism than normal. Iceland is on a hotspot located at the mid-ocean ridge. Hotspots can and do move, but observations suggest that they typically move slower than the plates above them move. So, it is primarily the motion of the plates that produce hotspot island chains. Recent research has shown that there is not one big magma chamber directly under Hawaii. Its head may have cooled and been dragged away by the plate, or there may be lots of little fingers of magma instead of one big chamber. If this is the case, look out Maui, because this would make it harder to predict where volcanoes will occur. Remember, there is still plenty to be learned about the Earth. Slide 15. Island seamount chains are also found next to trenches. Do not forget that island seamount chains are also found along the edges of trenches. Magma is rising upwards all along a trench, because a plate is diving down into the mantle, melting, and becoming magma all along the edge of the trench. This page was intentionally left blank.